NASCAR's most intense action-packed racing. At a track where you feel it, hear it, and see it, unlike anywhere else.
Anybody that asks me when they're going to their first race, I'm sending them here.
This is the hottest ticket in NASCAR. Experience the thrills for yourself at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Roll Tide and welcome to this Thursday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover. Great to be with you in Tuscaloosa, especially after last night's basketball win for Alabama against Auburn. And on this show, we're going to be talking a lot about golf and the exciting future ahead for Crimson Tide sophomore Nick Dunlap. We'll start by going through everything coming up on the show, plus our headlines, thanks to our friends at RJ Young. RJ Young is the official technology solutions provider of Crimson Drive. They've given us a smart board to go through everything coming up in a really interactive way. Speaking of Nick Dunlap, winner on the PGA Tour at the American Express, we'll be talking to him right after he made his announcement to turn pro and accept his PGA Tour membership. An exclusive interview with Nick Dunlap coming up, as well as comments from the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Seawell. Then we'll be talking golf with Doug Bell, who is an Alabama alum, a former colleague of ours here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. He is one of the hosts of PGA Tour Radio, really the play-by-play announcer of PGA Tour Radio. He gives us thoughts on Nick Dunlap's tremendous performance out in La Quinta, California this past week. Then we'll take a look back to all the fun that we had last night with the Courtside Cam presented by NASCAR, the booth camp highlights. You don't want to miss this from the Auburn victory. And then we'll go to Monday's edition of Hey Coach, Chris Stewart's conversation with Rob Vaughn, the head baseball coach here at the University of Alabama. Practice will begin tomorrow for the Crimson Tide Fan Day coming up on February 10th. And then before you know it, it's going to be February 16th, and it's time to play ball at the Joe. So some baseball talk to round out the show coming up today. But first, we'll take a look at Crimson Tide men's basketball. With that thrilling victory last night, a great bounce-back win considering Alabama fell for the first time in conference play to the Tennessee Volunteers by 20 points in Knoxville. But again, backed it up really well against an Auburn team that had previously been undefeated in league play. 4-point victory for the Crimson Tide. Alabama led by 14 at the half and even withstood a very good challenge from Auburn down the stretch in that game. Hit some critical free throws. Grant Nelson a double-double. Mark Sears leading the way with 22 points. Just a tremendous night for Alabama. And now with that win, it's now Alabama, Auburn, and Tennessee all tied in terms of the league lead with one loss so far this year. So great start for Alabama to conference play. They'll try and keep it rolling coming up at home against another set of Tigers, the LSU Tigers, on Saturday at 7 p.m. Our radio coverage will start at 6 here on the network. Talking about Alabama golf, again, coming up shortly, we'll be hearing from Nick Dunlap, who won the American Express. He became the first amateur to win a PGA Tour event since 1991 when Phil Mickelson had that feat. Love seeing that for Nick Dunlap. And, of course, he was in the final group on Sunday along with Sam Burns and Justin Thomas, who had a really good showing. He tied for third in his first event of the year. Justin Thomas looking for a really bounce-back season. We'll talk more about that with Doug Bell coming up. And we will, of course, take a look at our conversation with Nick Dunlap, Seawell, and Doug Bell on Alabama golf. Now some final notes on Crimson Tide Athletics. The women's basketball team does not play a game tonight, one of the few open dates of the season for Alabama. So Alabama will return to action on Sunday against Kentucky. It's the alumni game, We Back Pat, coming up 4 p.m. Alabama against Kentucky here in Tuscaloosa. Gymnastics, they'll be on the road coming up this week on Friday, taking on the Florida Gators at 6 p.m. And make sure you go to the Alabama Athletics YouTube channel or Alabama Gymnastics on social media, UA Athletics, and check around All Around Episode 2. Thanks to our great Learfield team taking an all-access look with Alabama Gymnastics with All Around. A great episode just dropped yesterday. As I mentioned, the Baseball Fan Day is scheduled for February 10th, but you are available to go to practice at Sewell Thomas Stadium. Just check RollTide.com for details, as official practice for Rob Vaughn and the Crimson Tide baseball team will begin on Friday. We begin this show talking golf and talking with Nick Dunlap, who earlier this morning here in Tuscaloosa announced that he would accept his PGA Tour membership, turn pro, and he is going to be playing next week at Pebble Beach. But right now, he's in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and he joins us for an exclusive interview here on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover, now joined by the newest member of the PGA Tour, Alabama golfer Nick Dunlap, who won the American Express last week. And you and I got to visit in the fall, talked about the whirlwind of 2023. You win the U.S. Amateur, you're part of the winning Walker Cup team. What has this last week been like for you? It has to be even more of a whirlwind.
Double it. But no, it's all, all great problems to have. And to, be able to chase my dream as a 20-year-old is pretty special and something I'm looking forward to.
We're certainly excited for the success you've had. Just what led to success? What were some of the most consistent clubs in your bag this past week?
Putter. I mean, all of them. I played extremely well. Shot 29 under par. Not a lot went poorly. I did a lot of things great. I put a new driver, put the new QI10 TaylorMade in the bag, and drove that beautifully the last 3 days, and putted well, ironed it well. But I mean, I really have no complaints.
How important was it to have Hunter as your caddy? Is he going to be your caddy moving forward?
Hopefully, he's going to caddy at Pebble and at Riviera for my next two events, and he's such a calm voice, and on my bag, I said it out there. He never seems to change. It doesn't matter what the moment is. Whether that was my putt for 60 or to win the event, he's always the same, and it's unbelievable. But to have his kind of positivity and his outlook on golf, and he's so knowledgeable, and especially with some of these courses that I haven't seen before, he's able to have been out there and he's played them. So I kind of lean on him and his insight, and for some of these events moving forward.
Of course, you win the event on Sunday, and then the question is, all right, will he or will he not turn pro? When did you have clarity on this decision?
It took a little bit, but and that's one reason I wanted to come back. I wanted to talk to the team and my family, and have a sit-down conversation with them, and obviously Coach Seawell, because like I said, that decision didn't just impact me. There was a time where I had to leave my teammates mid-season, and that's really hard, and something that I didn't see coming and they didn't see coming, and something that I wanted to talk to them about personally, and they were the first ones to hear that this was my decision, and like I said, I wanted that to come from me.
I know it's tough not getting to compete with them this spring, but what is this group capable of, you feel like, in college golf?
Well, I mean, even the last event, I wasn't able to. I was worn slap out from Dubai and didn't play our last event of the year, and they won that event when I wasn't there. So I think they've proven that with or without me, they're a hell of a golf team, and I've got nothing but trust that they'll continue to prove that. And I think that they know that the spotlight's going to be on them for a little bit, and like I said, I have no doubt that they'll go out and perform the way they think they can.
We talked before about wanting to play for this program, wanting to wear the script A and play for Coach Seawell. How did Alabama prepare you for this next step you're now taking on the PGA Tour?
Even the last year and a half, I feel like I've grown so much, and a lot of it is the preparation that kind of Coach Seawell prepares for us. I think his track record speaks for himself on what he's done in the past with tour players, and why tour players continue to come back and see him. And I think it just goes to show what he does for us and what he does for Alabama.
Well, Nick, congratulations on your decision to turn professional. We wish you all the best at Pebble Beach and beyond. Thank you for joining us. Roll Tide.
I appreciate it. Roll Tide. Thanks.
Busy day for Nick Dunlap, again announcing earlier today that he is going to turn professional, join the PGA Tour starting next week at Pebble Beach. Of course, last week picked up the win of the American Express in La Quinta, California, and Coach Seawell was there to greet him, and also, kind of like with Lee Hodges last year, we talked about this when Lee Hodges won the 3M Open, an Alabama alum, winning for the first time on the PGA Tour. Coach Seawell was there with the Victory Milkshake. Always a special tradition that Coach Seawell is proud to continue forward. As we had a chance to catch up with Nick Dunlap earlier today in Tuscaloosa, we had the same opportunity with the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Jay Seawell. Once again, there's a Crimson Tide golfer heading to the PGA Tour.
Roger Hoover now joined by the head coach of the Crimson Tide golf team, Jay Seawell. And Coach, congratulations. You love when your players turn pro. Maybe the first time you've had one on the current roster join professional, but a great day here in Tuscaloosa for Nick Dunlap.
It really is. I'm so proud of him. He's handled this moment so well. You can tell by his emotions this was really hard. Not the decision to turn pro, but to leave the University of Alabama, and especially his teammates. And so we're excited for him. This is what, when we promise them when they come, we're going to help them become men on and off the golf course. And I think he's demonstrated off the golf course so well in how he's handled all of this. And, of course, on Sunday on the golf course. And so it's his time to fly, and we're excited for his new journey. And, if I speak for all of our, for the golf program and all the players, we're really thrilled for him.
Well, he and I talked last fall about the whirlwind that 2023 was for him, winning the U.S. Amateur, winning the Walker Cup, and all the great events he got to play in. What did you see in his preparation leading up to the American Express that gave him success last week?
Well, he spends most of the winter hunting, so we don't ever see him other than he comes out and practices his bow. And so he's bow practicing into a target, while we're all getting warmed. We don't have practice during the winter, but he's out there shooting his bow. And so, but he did a little bit more golf this year because he did know he's going to have some professional starts. And so but he came out of the woods. I said, "You're swinging at it great." He goes, "I know, I feel good." And so, he has some teachers and all that, but he's really almost just self-taught at the same time. He has feels, and he goes, it just feels really good. And, I'm like, it looks great. And so it just something clicked over the winter. And I think it's just his time. You look at it and you go through life and the plans, the journey that the Lord has for all of us. And you see that his was for this time. And so he practiced great. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, I'm so tied up like he usually did coming out of the woods. It was just perfect. And so you could see that he was trending well going into the tournament.
Alabama golf family really well represented at this tournament, whether it was Hunter on his bag and then 6 former Crimson Tide players in the field. What'd that mean to you?
A lot. Really proud of that. Nick, now that he's declared, is our 10th player on tour currently right now, and I'm really proud of that because that's what we try to promise these young kids who have dreams to play at the highest level. And so, and it worked out also well because he played with Wilson, in the first 2 rounds till he got injured, and then so that was a comfortable pairing with Hunter on the bag, and then the final round, when you're going to be really, really nervous, having Justin in that group was calming. Even though he didn't really know him as well as he knew Wilson, he knew him by being a member of our team and talking to him on the phone or in texting a little bit. That, I believe, also calmed him. And so I think that's the Bama effect. I'm proud of that. I look forward to them. We've already talked to them, hey, bring this guy in, make him part of the fold, and make this transition easy. And I know they will. And I think that's why these guys have such success out there.
So we're really excited for Nick Dunlap now turning professional, but now looking at your golf team that you have currently, what was it like for them to learn the news that Nick was going pro, and what are the next steps forward for this team as they get ready to compete in the spring?
Tuesday was a beautiful day as a coach. Nick had not told anybody he was turning pro. He told the team. He wouldn't even tell me. He told the team on Tuesday in our team meeting on Tuesday afternoon, and that meeting will be beautiful to me as a coach the rest of my life, rest of my career. How he handled them, he wanted to be the person who told them. That's why he dropped out of San Diego. The pressure was to go, just keep going while you're hot, get money, get money, get money. And he goes, no, this affects a lot of people. I think that's great maturity. And then their reaction to him, they all spoke up. Cannon, especially as a senior leader, just said, hey man, don't you ever apologize to us, because he felt like he was abandoning them. And that was when he got their support, that we are in this with you and you're inspiring us and we'd be mad if you didn't. I think that's what he needed to hear to make this decision final. But that 30, 45 minute was very emotional. It was great. It's athletics. I love it. It's why you do what you do.
That is really special. And, of course, here in Tuscaloosa, we've been talking about one of your pupils, Coach Saban, who announced his retirement. He's going to get to play a lot more golf. You excited for him?
So much. Chatted with him this week. He was kind enough to call in on the broadcast, of course, and then he called me to talk to Nick after the round. And so happy for him. I think he's run his race. He's done everything he could. He's given us all a chance as coaches to be in a bigger, brighter platform. And his time is to relax. And chatted with him, and I think he is, and I think he's very content and deserves a good retirement.
We look forward to that. Well, we look forward to the start of Nick Dunlap's professional career again next week at the Pebble Beach. We look forward to seeing this Crimson Tide golf team in the spring. Coach Seawell, thank you for your time. We're going to be chatting more all throughout the golf season, but thank you again. Roll Tide.
And Roll Tide. Thanks, Roger.
Crimson Drive is driven by NASCAR, and get ready for a weekend of good times, unforgettable entertainment, and 3 wide, high-speed thrills all race long. That's what NASCAR's spring weekend in Atlanta is all about, and the best way to experience it is at the track. Don't miss the Better Health 400 weekend at Atlanta Motor Speedway with 3 days of racing thrills, February 23rd to the 25th. Atlanta is the hottest ticket in NASCAR, so don't wait. Get yours now at atlantamotorspeedway.com. We continue with Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, and again, we're starting the show with a lot of golf content. Again, Nick Dunlap winning last week at the American Express, earlier today turning pro. Thank you as well to everybody, not only with Alabama Athletic Communications, but the PGA Tour as well, and setting up those interviews that we had just a moment ago with Nick Dunlap and Jay Seawell. Earlier in the week, before we knew what the final decision would be for Nick Dunlap, we wanted to hear more about his round, and we talked to somebody that's been a colleague of ours before here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network, and now over 20 years, the PGA Tour Radio, Doug Bell, who was on the play-by-play call of a lot of the key putts and the key moments for Nick Dunlap in his final round. I know that because I listened to it going from Auburn back home to Birmingham on Sunday. Doug Bell did a masterful job along with his teammates on PGA Tour Radio talking about Nick Dunlap and his victory at the American Express, and he joins us now to discuss what turned out to be a thrilling week for Nick Dunlap in California. Doug, there's a lot to smile about on the PGA Tour with Alabama right now. Roll Tide, how's everything going after a thrilling win by Nick Dunlap of the American Express?
Hey, Raj. Yeah, Roll Tide. A lot of those Roll Tides, by the way, happening at La Quinta, California on Sunday, especially in that last group, Nick Dunlap and Justin Thomas, who, by the way, were playing together for the very first time. They'd never played golf together before Sunday. Imagine that. And there was a lot on the line on Sunday.
There certainly was a thrilling victory for Nick Dunlap. And just overall, this Alabama golf program in this last event, Doug, had 6 golfers in the field. Does that really speak to the strength of what Seawell has built at Alabama?
There's no doubt. It's funny. Whenever I'm on the broadcast, I always say Roll Tide. And I talk about this Alabama and this Alabama guy. The University of Georgia, by the way, still leads the charge with 10 players on the PGA Tour. Alabama is catching up. And, of course, with Nick Dunlap, they could be catching up very quickly. But, yeah, Jay has built a juggernaut in collegiate golf. He was there on Sunday with a milkshake. And when Nick won and was getting hugs and kisses from everybody, there was Coach standing there with a milkshake, which is kind of his deal. And that was really neat as well. So, and then, of course, on social media, when we saw the Alabama golf team go crazy when that putt went in, I mean, that was really a special moment for obviously Nick, Coach Seawell, and the Alabama golf program.
It really was. We'll zero in on Nick Dunlap in a moment. How about Justin Thomas? Very up and down season for him last year. He was able to be part of the Ryder Cup team and played well at Marco Simone, but I think everyone was kind of looking to see what he would look like to start 2024, and he ends up just 2 back of Dunlap for the lead in this event. What did this past weekend mean for JT?
I think it was huge, Roger. Of course, he's a proud University of Alabama guy. And Sam Burns was in that final threesome, by the way, with RTR shaved in his hair because he lost the bet with Justin Thomas during the season when Alabama beat LSU in football. So I thought that was terrific. And, of course, JT and Coach Saban still in close contact. And, obviously, Coach Saban now in Jupiter, just down the street from Justin Thomas, by the way. But speaking of JT, yeah, didn't make the playoffs a year ago. He is a superstar on the PGA Tour, but even the best have down seasons. And looks to bounce back in a big way. And I think what we saw last week, Roger, even though it was a course set up for birdies, everybody went low, Nick Dunlap, and you had to go 13 under to make the cut. But I think what we saw in Justin Thomas is a guy who's worked very diligently in the offseason to come into this season prepared. And he wants to win because he wants to be in some of those big signature events that lie ahead on the PGA Tour. I think what we see is a Justin Thomas who is motivated, and I think he's set up for what could be a huge bounce back year for him.
Well, obviously, we've been keeping up with him for over 10 years, going back to his time at Alabama as a golfer, and still on this Crimson Tide golf team is Nick Dunlap. Is there any way you can put in perspective how special last year was for him with all the victories he was able to pick up, most notably the U.S. Amateur?
Well, his resume is impressive, Roger. There's no question about it. When you think about it, he won the U.S. Junior and then last summer the U.S. Amateur, and the only other player ever to win the U.S. Junior and the U.S. Am was Tiger Woods. I mean, think about that. And then, of course, he was the star in that Walker Cup team, almost shot 59 in a collegiate tournament. So his resume is building. Very talented, ultra-talented young man. But to think what he did, Roger, last week on the PGA Tour, first time in 33 years an amateur beats back the best in the world and wins on the PGA Tour, was really one of the amazing feats that I've ever seen. I've been out there for 20 years calling the shots with Tiger and Phil and all these great things that have happened. But that's what Nick Dunlap pulled off, to me, is one of the most amazing feats I've seen in the modern era in the great game of golf. And you know what? And this isn't hyperbole. What he pulled off last Sunday, Nick Dunlap, I think is one of the great things I've seen in all of sports in the modern era. Let's don't downplay this. What he pulled off Sunday was really a monumental achievement.
When did you first hear about Nick Dunlap? How did he first get on your radar?
Well, I live in the Birmingham area. I live close to Greystone Country Club, where he plays a lot. He went to Spain Park High School, and Jeff Curl, a guy who played on the PGA Tour, is his mentor and plays out at Greystone. And, you always hear about, hey, have you seen this Dunlap kid? Have you seen this guy? And you go out and see him play a high school tournament, and you're like, yeah, he's pretty good. And then all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, he's winning college tournaments. Oh my gosh, last summer, he's going to win the U.S. Amateur. So your radar instantly goes up. And what I think, Roger, what we're seeing now is the greatest era of young golfers in the history of the game. And Dunlap is included in that. Ludwig Aubert from Sweden. We saw what he did winning on the PGA Tour, going to the Ryder Cup. He could be the guy now this year and in coming years in the PGA Tour. And I think Minwoo Lee is another Korean golfer who's in his early 20s. I mean, we're seeing a phenomenal group of young people come out on the PGA Tour, and Nick Dunlap is included in that conversation. Roger, think about that. I mean, that's how good this young guy is.
Really is, and a really special Sunday. Had a tough moment on the 7th hole. How'd you see him bounce back after that, and especially just play winning golf down the stretch?
Well, Roger, you know, Hunter Hambrick, the old Alabama assistant golf coach, who, by the way, was on that national championship team with Justin Thomas, and they were roommates. Hambo was on his bag, and he settled him down. They were a great tandem out there all week, joking, laughing, a lot of conversation. Just terrible swing. At the most inopportune moment, he goes from 3 up to even after one hole. Sam Burns birdied the hole. He suffers a double bogey. And honestly, I was walking inside, describing the action, doing the play-by-play. And Roger, I thought it was over. I've seen it happen time and time again where young guys, the moment gets too big for them in the final day of a PGA Tour event. And darn if he didn't just hang in there. The kid just hung in there and played terrific golf the rest of the way. And then it was Burns, the seasoned veteran, who made the mistake at 17. And Nick went on to win. Although I will say, Roger, this was interesting. At 18, there was no scoreboard at the tee. And Nick thought he had a 2-shot lead. And Bezuidenhout, the talented South African, had birdied up at the green to close within 1. Nick did not realize that. Hits his drive out right. Let's don't go in the water. We're okay. Let's hit our second shot out to the right. We can do it. We can get a bogey. He had to get up and down and hit a 6-footer to secure that victory. So again, it even adds more to this incredible story of Nick Dunlap. But yeah, I mean, that final day, Roger, I mean, I just can't emphasize enough for the people watching your show how difficult it is for somebody who's never been in that position to go out with the crowd, the TV cameras. You're playing great players with you. And for him to pull it off, he'd never been in that environment before. It was something to behold.
Certainly love that. And of course, you got to catch up with him coming right off the green, basically, after he gets that putt to win the tournament. And one of the questions you asked was about what the future is like for him. Does this escalate and accelerate him turning professional? I know a lot of that conversation is going on this week. Just what do you think are the next steps for Nick Dunlap?
Well, as he told me, and he was being real, this is a mature young 20-year-old. He doesn't seem like he's 20. Said he has to sit down with his family. His mom and dad are great. And I talked to them, has to sit down with Coach Seawell. He has an agent. You're allowed to do that in this era of NIL. Everybody has to sit down, and what they call it now in golf is your team. So now Team Dunlap has to sit down and just figure out, is now the time to go pro? And he has up until 2026, thanks to the victory, to join the PGA Tour. He's now qualified through PGA Tour University, the new program. I mean, he's already on the PGA Tour. He just has to say yes, and we'll see if it happens sooner than later. I think Coach Seawell, Roger, would love for him to come back so they could go after another NCAA championship. But I think Coach Seawell knows that now might be the time. We shall see. Again, a supremely gifted young 20-year-old who's mature beyond his years, ultra competitive, and highly intelligent. And you can't emphasize that enough. I mean, he listens and he's observing these great players. And he's a very modest young guy too. So if you wrap all that up into this incredible package, I think, this is just my opinion, I think we'll probably see him turn pro sooner than later.
Certainly a great future ahead for Nick Dunlap as he continues to represent the University of Alabama very well. And of course, we've seen the Bama football, the helmet right behind you. We know you represent us very, very well on the PGA Tour. Just what did your time at Alabama mean to you, and also the work you've done with us before on the Crimson Tide Sports Network?
Well, I tell you, Roger, and we were talking before our interview, you know, my late father, Gabby Bell, his picture is proudly hanging in the Bryant Museum with all the other talented play-by-play men who brought the Crimson Tide conversation to the airwaves. And he was that was the highlight of his career. He had a long career. He did Alabama basketball. So I was brought up at a young age, Roger, as an Alabama fan. And I remember vividly as a little boy sitting in the living room, and my dad would have that game on. And he was a great historian of the game. And he taught me a lot about the Crimson Tide, past and present. And then when I had the opportunity to work for the old Crimson Tide Sports Network, I worked with great people like Tom Roberts, who was heavily involved back in the day. Burt Bank was still doing some stuff. I mean, these are names from the past, but these are gentlemen who I have great respect for. And Roger, kind of like you, I was a jack of all trades. I did everything, play-by-play for basketball and football. I interviewed Sarah Patterson back when they were just cranking out the national championships in gymnastics. Jim Wells was the baseball coach, Roger. I went to Omaha with the baseball team. I don't know. We could sit here and talk for an hour, and I could tell you great stories, but I know you don't have that much time. But I would just say this, really the highlight of my career, knock on wood, I'm still going strong, thank the good Lord. But the experience that I had working at the University of Alabama with all those great coaches and administrators and people at the network, really the highlight of my career.
Certainly served you well. Well, Doug Bell, thank you so much for your time with us here on the network today, talking about a great win for Nick Dunlap. As I mentioned to you before, really enjoyed listening to your coverage on PGA Tour Radio, coming back from Auburn to Birmingham on Sunday, describing that victory. So again, just thank you for your time, and we look forward to catching up with you again down the road. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide, Raj.
NASCAR's most intense action-packed racing at a track that's built to thrill you all weekend long. It's the hottest ticket in NASCAR, and it's only at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
So earlier in the week, we were all about golf with the great victory for Nick Dunlap. And then last night, Nick Dunlap was in the house at Coleman Coliseum. He got recognized. Jalen Milroe got recognized for Alabama beating Auburn in the Iron Bowl, as Alabama got the sportsmanship trophy from Auburn this past year. Well, really, Alabama's kept it 4 straight wins against the Tigers, but you know what I mean. Alabama, there are a lot of reasons to celebrate last night, and it turned out that men's basketball was another reason why. Full house at Coleman Coliseum, a very, very special atmosphere, and we knew going into this ball game Alabama would need a good atmosphere and crowd support to help back up this team that had just lost a tough game to Tennessee on Saturday, but you knew things would be a little bit different when the Crimson Tide returned home last night to Tuscaloosa to take on a previously unbeaten in conference play Auburn Tigers basketball team. We had the Courtside Cam streaming live presented by NASCAR. We know a lot of you watched that last night. Now we want all of you to watch back some of the key moments from last night's thrilling victory as Alabama was able to defeat Auburn. That's always special here in Tuscaloosa. And what is also special, the play-by-play call at Chris Stewart, Brian Passing, and you see Tom Stipe hanging out in the background as well for what turned out to be a thrilling night for the Crimson Tide.
Here's Sears with it, bounce past Stevenson, to the right. High pick and roll, well executed. Mark Sears drops the dime and an easy dunk for Jaron Stevenson. Sears crossing over, stepping back, goes left, gets into the paint, flips it outside. Rylan Griffin, 3, bottom. Great start for Rylan Griffin. Another defender picks up on the switch. Griffin all alone, 3 again, hits it again, and a baby. Rylan Griffin loves Coleman Coliseum. Blows by him again, kicks it in the corner. Reitzel all alone, 3. Bama, 3 in a row from deep in the Tide's taking its first lead of the night. A 9-0 run for Alabama in a minute and 13 seconds. Getting stops defensively, starting to knock down shots. Working right side off the screen. Mark gives it up to Griffin. Catch and shoot. 3 and a make again. Red, smoking, hot. Rylan Griffin doing it again. Rylan Griffin doesn't care about starting. 3 for 3, all from deep. Nelson, a dribble to his right, another, and a handoff to Griffin. Gives it off to Nelson, who dropped it, then gave it back to Estrada. One more, Griffin, 3. And tell you what, Rylan, if you touch it, shoot it, baby. He knocks home another one, his 4th. Bank first 3 of the half. He'll play off the screen from Stevenson. He'll give it to Jaron, left side, 3-ball bomb. Rebound claimed by Sears. Bark the other way. Sears front court. Sears top of the arc. Sears to his right. A couple of dribbles. Handoff. Reitzel. 3. Another bank first 3 for Alabama. Baseline. Skips a pass out. Luttrell let it fly, baby. Bottom. Latrell Reitzel Jr. gives Bama
the 12-point lead. 5 on the shot clock, down to 3. Nelson to the rack. Oh, mercy! A reverse slam. Grant Nelson, an and one opportunity. And that is one way to knock the lid off here at Coleman. They'll kick it back to Reitzel for 3. Hallelujah. Knocking it down on the assist from Jaron Stevenson. Mark working, shooting, making the bank first 3 for Alabama. Back to Sears on the right wing. Goes baseline. Gets underneath. Off the glass. Counting. And he is fouled. An and one opportunity for the pride of Muscle Shoals. Mark Christopher Sears. Rebound played by Nelson. Gives it off to Sears. He'll bring it front court. Mark to Ryland. Steps into it. Sears working out near center court. 1:11 to go. 14 on the shot clock. Bama trying to make it a 2-possession game. Wimp standing up in the aisle over there. He's living and dying with every possession as well. Sears on the drive. Going down the lane. Reverse layup. No! Nelson! Oh, absolutely yes with a flush.
Another huge offensive rebound by Grant Nelson. The tip dunk and the crowd going crazy.
Bruce ain't happy, which is a glorious thing.
When Bruce ain't happy, I'm happy.
I understand. 4 Ramajamas and a yay Alabama. And a 4-point win over the 6th-ranked team in America. And oh, by the way, it's the Auburn Tigers. 79-75, Alabama a winner, improving their season record to now 13-6, 5-1 in Southeastern Conference.
Crimson Drive is driven by NASCAR, and make sure you join us for a weekend of good times, unforgettable entertainment, and 3-wide high-speed thrills all race long. Don't miss the Am Better Health 400 weekend at Atlanta Motor Speedway. 3 days of racing thrills from February 23rd to the 25th. Get your tickets now at AtlantaMotorspeedway.com. Well, February 23rd to the 25th, our friend Rob Vaughn is going to be very busy. That'll be the second weekend of the Alabama baseball season, and we're getting in the baseball mood and softball as well here in Tuscaloosa. We'll have plenty of softball content coming up shortly because they will start their season on February 8th. So look for that coming up on next week's show and especially the week after. But earlier this week, Hey Coach, presented by Alpha Insurance. Chris Stewart had a very busy night interacting with a lot of different guests. You can catch the whole show on demand on our YouTube channel, plus the Alabama Insider podcast. But of course, one of his guests was Rob Vaughn, the baseball coach for the Crimson Tide, who we talked to way back when he got the job in June, coming to Alabama from the University of Maryland. We have not talked to him since then. So Chris and Rob Vaughn had a great conversation detailing everything that's going on with this Alabama baseball program, as official practice will start for the Crimson Tide tomorrow at the Joe. Here's our Hey Coach replay with Rob Vaughn.
Head coach of the 19th-ranked team in America, Coach Rob Vaughn's Alabama Crimson Tide, with us here. Great to see you, sir.
Great to be here.
We appreciate the time and an opportunity to visit with you. Number 19 national ranking. I know rankings don't mean anything, but they do. It's great recognition for the program. The only problem, everybody else in the SEC is in the top 25. It seems, or a good bit of it anyway, but that's the nature of the league that you made the choice. You came into this.
No doubt, and that's what you want. You know,
Sure.
I think as a competitor, that's what you're looking for is, you know, I tell our guys this. We talk about it in recruiting a lot. You want to test yourself against the best. And you come to this league, you're going to face the best day in and day out. And I think you get the best version of who you can be. And, you know, I'm proud of our kids. You know, for them to be ranked 19 in the country is great. But there was a guy here for a lot of years that referred to that as rat poison. And so I've used that language a lot with our boys already. But they've showed up. It's been a great couple weeks of individuals. And we'll crank things up on Friday with team practice and get going.
It speaks, I think, volumes about where the program was able to finish last year, making it obviously to super regional before being eliminated, but also the job that you and your staff did in building the roster
the way you did, because you got a lot of new faces.
No doubt. And, I think it's guys, shoot, Andrew Pinckney sitting out here. I told him back there, I said, your girlfriend's a lot cooler than you are right here after that last interview. But yeah, it's on the backs of guys like that, the Jim Jarvises, the Tommy Seidels, and obviously, Jason Jackson and what he was able to do and leading that group to a really, really special year. And, I watched from afar, but after spending time with a lot of those guys from pro ball that are back and kind of working out with some, doing some things, those dudes laid the foundation for what it takes. And, you look at what Anthony Papio, my assistant, and JJ and Mike Morrison and what they did to put this class together. And, we returned some arms, but a lot of new faces on the position player side, and they did an unbelievable job of not only getting talented players, but getting the right kids. And it's been a heck of a lot of fun so far, so we're ready to get going.
We knew you'd bring philosophy from Maryland. We didn't know you were going to bring weather as well. But we're talking off air about that. However, you're a month away from first pitch, first game, first series. And I know you're chomping at the bit to get going.
No doubt. And really, it's one of those things that's so easy to look forward to February 16th in Manhattan coming to town. But the reality is, we've got a really important month ahead of us, and I think our kids did a great job this fall of showing up every day and working and really laid a good start there. But this week will be good. We got a couple days of individuals left, and then we'll start team practice on Friday. So we'll get some scrimmages in this weekend and start seeing some live arms. So, if we need some work. We got to keep getting better. But man, I'm excited to go to war with this group.
The regional was really special for everybody. For those of us that remember, and I've used this expression many times, but remember what it was like when Bama fans used to hang from the light post at Sewell Thomas Stadium because you had so many in there. We got a taste of that by hosting a regional this past year. Season ticket sales may not seem like a big deal to a lot of people, but it is big for your program, isn't it?
Sure.
In terms of what it does for recruiting and showing the nation Alabama baseball is back, and it wasn't just a one-year deal.
No question. And, especially, coming from a place like Maryland, great spot, great people, and we were able to see over 11 years there. I mean, when I first got there, it was about wives and girlfriends, and that's about all that showed up to games. And, by the end, there was 2,500 people. We weren't hanging from the light poles, but we had dudes scaling the backstop and all sorts of stuff, and we played well. So we were able to see what that did for our team, and I think, man, the lifeblood of your program is recruiting. And the kids at this level and the schools that we recruit against, man, they put guys in the stands, and it's a huge piece for us when people show up and support these kids. And, man, they work so darn hard to go out and put on a good show for them. And we're going to play a fun brand of baseball. We're gonna score some runs. We're going to hit some homers. We're going to strike some people out. So it's some stuff that should be pretty fun for fans to come see.
Season tickets on sale now at rolltide.com. Individual game tickets will start in February as well. What are the first few weeks like? What do you do the first few weeks? What does that look like? And you are encouraging fans to come out and watch early on, right?
Heck yeah, man. I love having people out there, and they get a taste of kind of what we do and how we do things. And, early on, you're really trying to get your pitchers built up, and that's the one thing is, man, that preseason is short. We get 3 weeks of team practice, and then we're up and rolling, and this isn't exhibition games. These things are counting towards your record. So just trying to build that up. We kind of installed everything we do in the fall. So all our team defense, all our offense, all that stuff's in place. Now it's just a matter of, and these kids have been gone for a month and a half. They've been gone. We haven't really had our hands on them really since Thanksgiving, just with the way the calendar lines up. So it's knocking the dust off a little bit, and we were able to get out and do some fly ball stuff today, and that sounds really, really basic. But shoot, I spent a lot of time up in Maryland where we didn't get a fly ball till opening day. So, so it's good to get out there, and it's just getting that ready. And we'll scrimmage Friday, Saturday, Sunday this week. So get some live at bats and some live game action, and start knocking the cobwebs off and get ready to go.
You can get information on the team at rolltide.com as well. Alex Thompson does a great job with it. But if you don't bring your iPad with you, just sit next to Roger Myers, and Roger will run through everybody for you, and he'll have the full breakdown.
Oh, Mo was out recruiting. Our recruiting coordinator was out recruiting all fall, doing some different things, and so he missed some scrimmages and stuff. And he told me, he's like, man, I just pulled Twitter up and followed Roger Myers on there, and I had a play-by-play and was ready to go.
Just sit next to Roger. He'll tell you everything.
I come see him after every practice. I'm like, Roger, what do we got, man? What do I need to? What'd you like? What do I need to change? What do we need to do different? But people like him make this place really special.
It is special at Alabama, and we're so glad you're here and running the program. We're excited about what the first edition of the Crimson Tide team will look like under Rob Vaughn as head coach. Thank you for your time tonight, and look forward to many more visits in the future.
Heck yeah, I'm excited to be here. This is a special place. I've been here 6 months, and it's already home. So my family's thrilled, and we're excited.
We're excited too, Coach. Thanks so much. Rob Vaughn, head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide baseball team, joining us.
A lot of fun there with Coach Vaughn. We're really excited for Crimson Tide baseball coming up, softball just around the corner as well. And this weekend, we have a very busy schedule coming up here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Our upcoming schedule is always brought to you by Wickles Pickles. They're wickedly delicious. We love having them on set with us for every edition of Crimson Drive driven by NASCAR. You can have them with you for all your favorite Alabama sporting events by going online to WicklesPickles.com. Let's see what's coming up across the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Well, nothing coming up later tonight. Again, women's basketball typically plays a Thursday-Sunday schedule. This is one of the few open dates of the season for the Crimson Tide women's basketball team. As you'll see, they'll return to action on Sunday against Kentucky. Tomorrow, a couple television shows for you to catch up on the Alabama Athletics YouTube channel, plus our TV affiliates around the state. Nate Oates' television show and Tide TV this week with the latest on Alabama athletics. Saturday, we're back at home at Coleman Coliseum. Once again, want to see a huge crowd, a loud student section once again for the Crimson Tide against the LSU Tigers. 7 o'clock the start time. Our radio coverage will begin at 6 p.m. all across the network. As I mentioned, the women's game against Kentucky a little bit later than normal at 4 o'clock. And then we will have Hey Coach with Nate Oates coming up on Monday from 6 to 7. We will be streaming that live here as well on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. So a lot to keep up with as Alabama athletics rolls on this time of the year, where again, we're mostly talking basketball, but we have some great events in store as the month of January comes to a close. That's our upcoming schedule, brought to you by Wickles Pickles. And that's going to wrap up this Thursday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Again, a huge thank you to everybody with Alabama Golf for the coverage earlier today that we were able to get, exclusive one-on-one interviews with Nick Dunlap, Seawell, on the announcement that Nick Dunlap is going pro after his win last week at the American Express. Thanks as well to Doug Bell for joining us, Rob Vaughn with Chris Stewart on Hey Coach as well. Thank you to our video producer, Ethan Carabin. He put this entire show together, and thanks to all of you for watching on this Thursday afternoon. Great victory last night for the Crimson Tide against the Auburn Tigers. Now let's keep the momentum going with some great events coming up this weekend. Until then, have a safe start to your weekend. This is Roger Hoover in Tuscaloosa saying thanks for watching and roll Tide.